Hey everybody, this is TinTim, that's T-I-N as in Natch, T-I-M as in mother. I am America's terminally insightful drag queen public intellectual, coming to you, aka the Cornell motherfucking West of Drag, coming to you with my thoughts on the most recent episode of Season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, which I think was, she bad with numbers, but I think episode 5, the Snatch Game, snatch, and grab. I don't know. Um, and what you just saw was before I started talking and being a boy, was some just random drag footage from last weekend, apropos of nothing. I actually went to see Detox perform 2 nights in a row, and that outfit was from the night before, the one that I actually recorded in last week's video, which you hopefully have already seen, that I uploaded on Sunday, but went live Monday afternoon. So the Snatch Game. I'm going to start by talking about something that probably no one expects me to talk about at all, let alone talk about first, because why the fuck not? And that is the lip sync song choice. I am a huge fucking Lisa and Cult Jam, especially with Full Force fan. Full Force was the producer that she used for most of her best music. Lisa fan, and I've been wanting them to use a Lisa song for like ever. So imagine my disappointment when they finally use some Lisa, and then assign it to two of the queens that, in my opinion, are least equipped to be interpreting Lisa. Um, Lisa is not high glam showgirl. Lisa is not, ratchet smash 'em, death droppin', heavily choreographed routine. Neither of these girls is really old enough probably to really fully appreciate her. But, Lisa is like, you're just like average New Eureka girl on the corner, elevated to like this glamorous pop star status. It's like glamour in like the very kind of pedestrian and very casual sort of 80s big hair, dangly earrings, your leggings, and women like um, Lisa and Lisette Melendez and all those great sort of Latin freestyle divas of the 80s. Like what made them so glamorous was that it was not this like heavily polished look. It was more like that and that it wasn't, they danced and there was that sexiness of dancing, but it was more of just like your kind of like casual street dance. And there's even a kind of like toughness or butchness to it that I wouldn't see either of these girls sort of tapping into appropriately, but at the same time still, a little bit of a groove. So the only saving grace is that Head to Toe is not my favorite Lisa song at all. I actually don't totally love that one. So, you know, thank God, or I don't know if I'm upset or not upset, or if I'm happy or sad that they didn't use one of my favorites, like something like "Can You Feel the Beat Within My Heart?" Do you guys know that one? You have to watch the video. So good. But "Can You Feel the Beat Within My Heart?" incidentally has one of like the best couplets ever in contemporary dance music, which is, or I mean not contemporary, in dance pop I mean music, which is you know. I threw away your ties, but through Venetian blinds, I looked and saw my heart had overruled my mind. So good. I try not to let it show, but I don't know what to do. Tell myself I'm blind, let's not just let it go. My heart does double beats for you, baby, and I know you feel the same. Sure is my name, though I know that there's no cure. I brought some lyrics wrong, but now you know my love. Woke up, all this love will turn to gold if we stay in love. Oh, my love, my love, my love. Can you feel the beat within my heart? Can you see you must be a part? No. Can you feel the beat within my heart? Can you see my light shine through the dark? Can you see that you must be a part of that beat in my heart? Can you feel the beat within my heart? Can you see my love shine through the dark? Can you see that you must be a part of that beat in my heart? Da beat, something beat, beat, beat. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, my baby, baby. So good. Listen to that whole album sometime. Now I'm like 5 minutes into my video, and all I've fucking done is sing these Nicole Jam. Ah, Snatch Game. So over global comments, as we call them, comments on the episode overall. I've been thinking a lot about, the whole Snatch Game thing and what we talk about when we talk about Snatch Game. Because, a lot of people get very excited about this episode and anticipating it, and the whole thing of like, this is where we really start to see who is more than just the look, who can think quickly on their feet and inhabit a character and be fast and funny and all of that, right? But there are like some things that annoy me about the assumptions we make about Snatch Game or the way we talk about people doing well in Snatch Game. And one of those is it seems to me that people invest way too much in someone's choice of character, what character to portray, as like what's going to decide who wins. And that if you just pick the right person, if you pick someone funny enough, if you pick someone that has a distinctive enough set of mannerisms, that somehow automatically that means that you will be successful. I feel like I've heard Michelle Visage do that when she talks, like she puts all this emphasis on who they pick. And I feel like I even heard something similar from Pandora in her little review this week. If you just pick a character, I remember what it was. Pandora was like, "Have they watched the show before?" When she was talking about some of the less successful, shall we say, queens this week. And critiquing their choices, like, have they watched the show, or why aren't they better prepared for this? But, what I have realized about Snatch Game, and obviously Pandora's, her job is to be funny in those reviews, not that serious, but what I've realized about the Snatch Game is you can pick the best character, you can pick a distinctive character. Nicki Minaj is a distinctive character, but with, distinctive mannerisms and a voice who could be done really funny, like, did Trinity really bring anything to that? You can pick the best character, and you can pick and you can think that you're prepared. You can think that you've practiced and are ready to tackle this. But in order to be successful in the Snatch Game, it's not enough even just to get someone's mannerisms down. Um, um, you know, and that's hard enough, right? I think that we saw with Laganja this week, you can pick someone that has some distinctive catchphrases, some distinctive mannerisms. At least I think it sounds like Rachel Zoe does from what people were saying. I've never actually seen Rachel Zoe. I don't know that much about her. But that you can pick someone who has distinctive things. You can even think that you have them, and then you get on camera and actually try to do it, and you don't have them. That's one thing. But maybe even more importantly than that, it takes strong improvisational skills to succeed in Snatch Game. You have to come up with good material. You have to come up with good material quickly, off the cuff, jump in and seize opportunities, and you can prepare as much as you want. You can pick the best person, and you can still not do that well because you don't have all of those elements. Considering that, I really think that there's sort of two dimensions that it takes to do well in Snatch Game. One is really how much you're able to become the character and to really begin to embody them and the vocal transformation and the mannerisms, all of that stuff. That's what I thought Adora Delano did astonishingly well this week. Just full commitment to playing the character. But then the second thing you need is really strong material. Funny jokes, funny responses, and as the base level. And then on top of that, if you can also jump in and seize opportunities from other queens and be funny, both Bianca Del Rio and Ben de la Creme did amazingly well this week, kind of jumping in and seizing those opportunities. It's like what Jinx Monsoon did last year with the Marilyn Monroe thing. Um, that's what really sets you apart. And someone else who actually I think totally had the material down and had shockingly funny material, but maybe less of a strong characterization or impersonation was Jocelyn Fox, who I think is becoming a lot of our favorites unexpectedly week after week, just because she's so full of surprises. Although she did a great character voice for Fran Drescher, so I think some of us were like, too bad she didn't do Fran. But then she couldn't have done that hysterical joke about Judice Squeedase, however you say it, becoming Johnson, or the come in thing. And those were both, I think, classic moments of the season, really, for me. But yeah, so I think that Ben de la Creme's win was very fair and deserved, and I think that the reason that it was fair and deserved is because she had the best balance of both those things of the voice and mannerisms becoming the character on the one hand, and then doing a really brilliant improvisation in terms of the comedy and the material on the other. And having that is very difficult. I thought Bianca Del Rio was also really good, really funny. I thought her impersonation was less astonishing, only because the voice that she used for Judge Judy was almost identical to me to what she does every night on stage when she heckles audiences. So it was a perfect character choice for her in a way, but it didn't, for that reason, it also didn't have that, like, wow factor. So, um, Ben de la Creme took it, and I thought that was fair. I was more confused by the bottom three, to be honest, and I think it's just the standards of how you choose to judge it. I think that if I was judging Snatch Game, I would give more credit to the people that try and fail than I would to the people that just flatline and do very little. Gia Gunn, to me, deserved to be in the bottom two because she flatlined. She put, nothing, very little into it. Whereas, to me, both Milk and Laganja Estranja um, tried, right? They tried to deliver jokes. They tried to do character voices. They weren't really successful, but there was an attempt there, and I respect that more than. And actually, I thought that Courtney Act, with her attempt at Fran Drescher, and to me, not very successful attempt, was actually on the exact same level as Milk and Laganja. Although her runway was amazing, maybe that's what sets her apart. But I didn't see a differentiation between those three. To me, those were all three people who attempted something, attempted a character or a voice, attempted to deliver some jokes, and just weren't super successful or funny. But there was an attempt, and the attempt to stay in character. Whereas Trinity Bonet, who I don't want to dump on because there was so much dump on Trinity last week, and I think we're done with that. But I thought that Trinity Bonet was a much bigger flatliner who put very little in, or was just didn't seem to. Nicki Minaj has such a distinctive speaking voice and did not even attempt a New York accent. To me, was like very disappointing. And I thought that, like Trinity on other challenges has ended up like working very hard and like really trying to do things that don't come easily to her, and as a result has impressed me more than I expected on the musical theater challenge and on the other acting challenge. So I guess I was sort of hoping that the same thing would happen with this, and it just didn't at all. So that's what I would have done. I would have put, because my preference, I think, is for people who try versus people who just kind of don't do anything. I would have put Trinity and Gia in the bottom, probably. But I think that part of what they do with the Snatch Game is use it as an opportunity to create a more dramatic lip sync moment. Because there are always people who fuck up the Snatch Game. There's this. I feel like there's this way we talk about the Snatch Game as though like, oh, I hope it's better this year. I hope it's better this year, as though there was some mythic Snatch Game that was amazing and wonderful. When I think if you actually go back and look at like the Snatch Game of the second and third seasons that everyone seems to harken back to as like these amazing Snatch Games, there were just as many disasters in those Snatch Games as there have been the last couple of years. But part of the Snatch Game is that it never meets our expectations because it's such a difficult thing to do. So I think when they're deciding who to put in the bottom two, it just seems to me like they use it as an opportunity to weave some narratives or tell some other stories. So like last year to me putting Detox in the bottom two, I didn't think that her Kesha was actually the weakest of the group. Again, she was someone who attempted some jokes, the peeing thing, some, like there were some attempts that maybe weren't fully successful. But I would have put I don't remember who did what last year. Maybe something really tepid and that like Coco's Janet Jackson would have gone in my bottom, not not like what Detox did. But I feel like they put Detox in the bottom as taking this opportunity both to show off Detox's amazing lip sync to the audience, but also to like sort of send this warning to someone that they thought was underperforming based on the expectations that you would have of her coming in at the caliber that she did. Um, so and so then today, this last night, it was an opportunity to do this story with Gia and Laganja, which I actually thought was a lot less emphasized than I expected it to be going in. There were rumors that this was going to be a Laganja Gia Ganja, whatever, lip sync, but there were rumors, and when I heard that, I think I thought like um, that they were really going to play up this heartbreaking sort of friendship drama element. And they really waited until Untucked to show that at all. They didn't show it at all during the episode proper. It wasn't really played for much drama. And then when it came up at Untucked, as we know, it was like a total WTF moment where, out of fucking nowhere, Laganja's like, oh my god, you guys, you said something that hurt me, but I don't know what was said or when it was said or anything else about it. I just know that it hurt. Like what? The fuck? I don't like being a big conspiracy theorist because I think that there's enough to talk about with the show without sort of over speculating about what really happens behind the scenes and all that. But it hit such a weird note and such a false note that it did make me wonder if maybe there was a producer like whispering in her ear that they wanted to begin a storyline between her and Adore, and that should get set up this week, and that somehow Laganja just wasn't like smart enough or quick enough to think of an actual reason to start something. And then Gia rushing her to her defense was like even more inexplicable to me and like just nonsense. I didn't really get it. Um, and it made me wonder, because Laganja was coming across as that sort of crazy friend that you have that just has these breakdowns for no reason to kind of make herself the center of her story and pull all this attention to her. It made me wonder if Gia is actually the kind of person who is attracted to those types of people, to kind of, helping, quote unquote, but really enabling sort of dysfunctional people by coming in to help them. There's a sort of personality type that I think is attracted to that because it makes them feel validated in some way, like a savior complex kind of. And I was like, I wouldn't sort of peg Gia as that at all, but maybe she is. I don't know. But it didn't really. The combination of the fact that like Laganja was being a completely insane, crazy person, in a way that was impossible to empathize with, although it was entirely hysterical. Just seeing everyone else's facial expressions was worth the entire episode. But the combination of that, and then the fact that the friendship with Gia wasn't really set up in other episodes. It seemed to come out of nowhere, and like it was really hard to relate to why they would even be friends in the first place. Didn't made that emotional moment more just sort of like something to gawk at than any sort of real thing. I can't believe we still have like at least one more major Laganja breakdown to look forward to based on the preview clips that we've seen. There's the one that everyone keeps calling Laganja's like come to Jesus breakdown moment that was featured in all of the early previews where she has the pink afro, and that still hasn't happened. So bitch is not done crying, but whatever. Um, so yeah, what else was I gonna say? Other people that were in the bottom was just Milk, right? And I feel like I should talk about Milk just because of my own sort of roots in like a gender fuck aesthetic, and because she was one of my expected favorites going into the season. And there's so much about her aesthetic that I do love and appreciate. Um, I, um, on one level, I can sort of, I have no problem with her going out in boy drag as Boyru. I think that the risk of doing that, adds something cool to the show, and um, it's sort of, badass in a way. I just wish that I think it would also be cool to see her in a really glamorous look. I also think it would have been awesome, as a lot of people have been discussing on Reddit, to have seen her in one of RuPaul's more elaborate gender fuck looks, like when RuPaul used to do what I call her, I don't know what she called it, but like what I like to call her, like David Bowie by way of her like David Bowie by way of LaBelle look, that sort of like look where, if you've ever seen those pictures of Rue, that's like it's like LaBelle with David Bowie bulge. Um, like this, crazy bird of prey coming into Pyramid Club kind of Velvet Goldmine thing that's kind of awesome and hot. Like that would be cool. We've never seen anything like that on the runway. That would have been awesome. But yeah, I don't have any problem with the boy drag and doing the boy-roo, and I think it's sort of like risky and kind of cool in one way. I just wish the execution had been better. Like I don't love the wig line, like the bald cap was so poorly blended. And I also, no one has said this, but Sharon Needles very infamously did the exact same look and executed it better at some event like a year or two ago, and the picture circulated all over Tumblr. And I would think that probably the general public didn't see it, but a lot of the more serious fans of the show know it. And so to me, it was just sort of like, if anything, kind of like a pale imitation of what Sharon did. So not my favorite, but I respect the choice and have no problem with it. Um, but I actually I related more than I expected to the encouragement that they were giving to her to diversify her look as a way of being more vulnerable. And let me say more about that, because I know there are people, fans of diverse drag and fans of genderfuck drag and fans of camp and all that, who get very frustrated with the fact that all of the sort of alt queens that come onto the runway get asked to um, show versatility when they don't necessarily feel like the pageant queens get asked the same thing always. That the pageant queens get challenged in the challenges to be more than just glamorous, but that on the runway, they're just allowed to continue being pretty, and Trinity Bonet can wear the same profile of dress every episode, every kind of similar shape of gown every episode without being asked to switch it up. Although, to be fair, she started the season with a badass, unexpected clown white look. So, but that's the complaint I've heard from people, whether you agree with that or not. But so on the one hand I understand that the whole like pushing people um, who have a cool and established look to do something outside of that like doesn't always seem fair to some audience members that love the gender fuck looks, and I hear all that, but there really is something to this thing of, as someone who started out doing more club kid, more gender fuck looks, and has pushed myself toward higher femme looks, things that some might see as more female impersonation ish. Although it's not very important to me to identify as a female impersonator at all. It's not like critical to my drag in any way. But there is something scary about going to that full femme, high femme look when you haven't done it yet. And I think as an artist, you need to push yourself toward the things that are scary in order to grow and expand. And this is something I've been trying to explain to my partner, because he's more appreciative, I think, of the visual diversity and what he sees as the greater creativity and innovation, and to him what looks like art of some of the club kids versus the queens that are just trying to look pretty. And so he's sort of like he's like, I don't know why you're doing body and stuff now. Like he doesn't get why I would want to do that, because to him it was more interesting when I was doing these other types of drag, and so trying to explain to him why it was important for me to to broaden my palette and expand my horizons or whatever. That's a lame cliche expression, but but to like push myself, why it was important to go to that other place. That sort of vulnerable high femme place. And it's vulnerable and it's scary for two reasons. Well, three, I guess. The one that was addressed on the show, I think, was what if you don't do it well at first and you look busted and that you look like more of a clown? If I make myself a deliberate clown, it's safer, right? So that was what I think was being talked about on the show. It wasn't totally clear from the edit. So that is one thing. But also, it's like, it's physical safety. I really think that with a club kid, you can be a little bit scary and intimidating. And that gives you a level of protection when you go out on the street as this freak. When you're just beautiful and glamorous, kind of like fake woman, um, then you are exposing yourself to all of that, you know, potential threat and violence of going out on the street between home and the club and all of that. Like everything that could happen to you as that person. There's a physical vulnerability that you kind of have to prepare for. Um, that I think is different when you're doing like high beauty, high femme drag. Um, and then the third thing is that um, um, there's a fear, for me anyway, that if you go into a more female impersonation-ish mode, that you will no longer be doing something unique and innovative with your drag, that you will no longer stand out, that you will be, the same as all the other girls, right? And if you came into drag priding yourself on being an artist, with a capital A, um, that's scary. It's sort of like, well, then am I just going to be a craftsperson? Just like any other queen, Um, and that's particularly acute for me, or was not so much now. I've sort of admitted that how superior to me and how much more amazing some of the really high art queens in Chicago are. We have an amazing scene right now. If you know like Kimchi from Facebook, but such a talented visual artist in a way that I've recognized I just don't have the vision to be. But like for me, coming out of like a more art scene in the literary world, where I started doing my drag at literary readings um, around authors. There it's all about wanting to differentiate yourself to a certain extent um, from like writing that isn't art, from pulp fiction, from genre fiction, from this is a broad strokes because there are actually a lot of interesting art and avant-garde writers who are interested in genre and play with it. But anyway, these are so broad strokes here. But differentiating yourself from like popular fiction, like we make art. Um, and so like having a little bit of that mindset coming into drag, there was this fear that um, if I stop doing looks that are weird, that I won't be doing drag as art anymore, and I'll just be like all those other queens. And that's a real fear, right? So I kind of understood what they were saying to Milk, and I kind of understood what Milk was saying, um, and like, so as much as I am her fan, and as much as I sympathize with some of the audience members that would like to be able to see her just be herself and all that, I think the challenge of taking on that more glamorous thing, and like what the vulnerability that exposes you to, like I think that there's something to that, and yeah, um, I think that's most of what I want to say about this episode. I am already at 30 fucking minutes, so I don't want to give y'all like a long, overly longest video to watch. I can't believe you guys are sticking with these long videos for one thing, but yeah. Oh, the only other thing is Trinity and her HIV status, um, which I don't really have anything that substantive to say about, except that I'm glad to see it worked in such a casual, sort of natural way, and to me that's very destigmatizing. Just that she's a member of the community and can be open about it. Maybe I'll talk about it more next week because if you guys have seen the 10-minute preview, you know that she brings it up again. So I think I'll hold off on that. and then we can have a longer conversation about social stigma and HIV and the politicization and depoliticization and what seems to me now like the repoliticization of HIV as a community issue versus just an individual problem that some people have to deal with. That's my preview of what I would say about it and talk about it, because I feel like I experienced Trinity's admission within the context of, if any of you watch the show on Logo, all these other ad campaigns around HIV destigmatization and claiming HIV as a community issue, which is a shift, I feel like, from the way HIV has been treated from maybe like the late 90s through the first decade of the 2000s. And in some ways, to me, a positive shift back toward it being more of a community concern where we care about each other instead of just over there for those people who have it to deal with or whatever. That is all I'm going to say this week. Much love to you all. Mwah.